Welcome to In the Limelight. Today's episode might seem a bit outrageous. How to make your newborn a billionaire. It's not, though. It's really possible, achievable. And it's more about the opportunity to give your child a head start in life. But before we get stuck into it, I'd like to introduce my guest, my first official guest, Leanne. Leanne's a mum, a businesswoman, entrepreneur, and a chartered accountant, even though she doesn't use her qualification in her everyday life. Leanne, would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yes, like I said, academically, I'm a chartered accountant, but now I do more holistic things. So I went to the complete other side. So I do acupuncture and then also have my own skincare brand, like natural skincare and essential oils. Actually,
How did you get from chartered accountant to natural skincare and acupuncture?
well, I always loved holistic healing and natural products because my mother, I remember like even when I was young, we never went to general practitioners. We always went to homeopaths and they would look into your eyes. And I always thought like, whoa, this is so cool. How does he know all this stuff by looking into my eyes? So I was very amazed by it. And then I remember like when I was 12, I used to make like bath scrubs for my friends using essential oils. And I thought everyone knows how to use essential oils. And then later when I started doing like a course for my mother at one of her retreats, I realized like no one knows how to use essential oils. And I'm like, no, everybody needs this skill. They need to like know how to use this because it's such a great um, skill to have, how to use it, and a great tool to have.
Oh, fantastic. And you're a new mum?
Yes.
Ah.
4.5 months.
4.5 months. How has your life changed since becoming a mother?
Sure, a lot, and different ways. So the beginning was the first 3 months, I think, is the worst. First 2 weeks is the easiest, and then after that it gets a bit difficult. And then after 3 months it gets a lot easier again. So I think it's also helped, like it's been challenging, but the challenges has actually been like a doorway to learn how to manage time. And it's actually helped me in my business as well. Because I actually told my husband the one day, I'm like, you know what? If I can do this in my business, if I can manage like milk supply, wow, why can't I manage my stock this well? Because just like figuring out like how to do milk storage and the time and when to freeze it, and we went through all these stages like typical like new parents. I think we did everything like wrong and like the worst way in the beginning, and then you'd learn like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. I'm like, wow, but if I can do this, why aren't I doing this in my business? So I think I learned how to do things like better, time management, organization, because you have to do it. If you don't do it, you fail. So you have to. So it's like swim or sink.
100%.
So that's been good, that part.
Okay.
And the lack of sleep, not so good, but
Yeah, I think the human race would probably not survive if we had good memories, because no one would ever have a second child.
That's what everyone says.
But thankfully, you forget the bad stuff and you remember the good stuff. And
Oh, they're so cute. They're amazing.
yeah, if I remember back to when I had kids, which was quite some time back, but I think one of the things that kind of struck me or that changed was the way I drove. Suddenly I went from not driving recklessly, but I mean, I guess as a South African, most, rules are generally thought of as guidelines. So, the speed limit of 60, if you're doing 65, 70, that's okay.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden when I had a young child, that was like probably 58.
Yeah.
So it was this switch that flipped. Now I'm probably back to how I was before. So what would you say are some of your concerns or hopes or for your child, things that you'd like to be able to give your child, or worried about, keep you up at night,
No.
other than
Yeah.
other than the baby?
Yeah, Shiny's better now. So.
Good.
The Sunday is much better now. he slept through it last night. It was me, like, anyway. Yeah, so I think hopes is like, yeah, that he could have, like, I was lucky enough to have, my parents were 19 when they got me. So they were very young. So there was a lot of people raising me. So my grandmother, my grandfather, my aunts, my mother. My mother had a lot of free time because she was still at university. So I was lucky enough to have a lot of different people teach me things. So I think that was something that helped me a lot in my life, was like having all these different kinds of skills that I learned from different kinds of people. So I would like him to have that as well. Learn, like, I would love to like teach him like different things, a lot of different things. And then keeping me up at night, like we said earlier, as soon as he was born, and I realized how challenging it can be because it takes a lot of time, and you want to obviously be present and spend a lot of time. You want to give that time. I realized that it's maybe very difficult to do if you're only one person. So that's one of the things I thought about, is like, what if something ever happens and it's only me? How do I make sure I'm like set up?
And I mean, have you given any thought to it? Have you spoken to anyone about taking out
Well,
protection?
yes, we have like done a quote with a bank. I don't know if I can say this, rather not. Yeah, we've done a quote, but I thought it was quite a lot per month for the benefit that you get. I think it was R1 million that paid out,
Mm-hmm.
and it was R1,000 or something contribution. So I just felt like that
Do you
was
know,
a lot
it is a lot if
for what you get. I was like, I'm sure we can use that money more.
yeah, it is a lot. So look, we can have a discussion outside of this in the Limelight show. But it really depends on what you need. So I think it is worth looking at and having a clear understanding of what those needs are, whether they to provide for a child's education, whether it's to just provide general expenses on an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely something to consider, and not just the life cover, but the ability to earn an income. If you were disabled and weren't able to earn an income, then in a way it's worse because you have to pay for yourself and you can't earn an income.
Yeah.
And then also what they call critical illness, and the most obvious examples of that would be heart attack or cancer. So those would be the key risk events. So I think a common issue that people have with risk cover is they realize the need, especially as young parents. Oh, I need to provide for my taste, in your case. But you don't know how much cover, what for, which type of cover, et cetera, et cetera. So I developed a simple tool. It's called the Line Easy Squeezy Needs Analysis Tool. And you simply fill in your details, your information, such as, do you have a child? Yes. Would you like to provide for their education? If so, for how long? For a 4-year degree, do you think they're going to do a doctorate, whatever the case might be? And you go through that questionnaire, and then you will get a output which explains exactly what cover you need, whether that's life insurance, critical illness cover, or income protection. So I think that's quite a useful tool. And one of the key differences, probably, to maybe what you got when you spoke to the bank, is that specifically as far as life cover is concerned, it breaks that down so that if you're replacing, for example, the cost of education over 16 years or whatever the case might be, it provides an income which will be paid on a monthly basis, rather than saying to your husband or you, whichever of you pass away in the unfortunate circumstances, instead of saying, here's R1 million or R2 million, do with it what you would. And yeah, there are a number of reasons why that's more beneficial. One is that whoever the other partner is doesn't blow it or misspend it. But there is state duty benefits, a number of other benefits as well. Okay, so I think if we maybe move on from risk and touch base in terms of the title we spoke about, which is how to make your newborn a billionaire.
Oh, yes. Something better to focus on. Then we won't need the life cover.
Well, I think you might, because
do we
it's
still
a
need-
billionaire by age 65. So have you heard of tax-free savings accounts?
Yes. He actually has one already. So
Matthias.
it's good. Matthias, that's
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
it was my husband's idea.
When
Well,
did
not
you
the
take it out
tax-free
for?
one. I think it was when we got some money for his pram. So a lot of people donated some money for his pram, and we had some extra money because he actually, little Matthias is very good with money, even though he's so young.
Yeah.
He had 2 baby showers with like loads of friends like showering with gifts and money. So I think that is when my husband suggested we have to get an account for it.
Okay.
So, and then I suggested, okay, let's get the tax-free account.
No.
And then we can invest this money.
He's a first child.
He's a first child. And he's got a dad that spoils him.
Yeah.
And lots of friends. So yeah, we said, yeah, okay, we're going to buy this pram as an investment, and we can sell it for his first bike, and then eventually it can become his first car. So that's our plan.
Very, very good thinking. So the key thing with growing wealth, and I mean, the reasons I fund tax-free savings accounts, I mean, it's not complicated. It's the first 2 words, tax-free, is that any money you draw out and any growth within that investment is tax-free for life, as long as you follow the rules. So, and the best way, or the way, to achieve that billion in a tax-free savings account by investing the maximum you're allowed to invest in a tax-free savings account over your lifetime is R500,000. So you can get that to there by investing 3,000 Rand a month for just under 14 years, and you just leave the money there. Okay, so that's the easy part if you have 3,000 Rand a month to invest. And if you don't, it doesn't matter. Invest
Anything.
whatever you can afford. I think that a couple of provisos or important points to be aware of. The one is the longer you leave it in, which is why I said for your newborn, they leave it there till they're 65, they can become a billionaire. The longer you leave it in, the more time there is for compound interest to work its magic. The other important point is to get the biggest bang for your buck, you need to invest it in what I would call riskier assets in a sense, let's call it more volatile assets, because over 65 years, if you're leaving the money there, you don't really mind if it drops by 20% one year and goes up.
Yes,
Next year, because you're not looking to draw any money out of it for a long, long, long time. So more volatile assets where you would expect a higher return. Okay, so normally what I recommend to my clients is they invest in global equities. And I mean, I say I would expect to earn 15% over the long term. And I know a lot of people I speak to say 15% a year, that's very high. How do you think? And it is quite high, but it's also, from what I can see, is very achievable. So if you look at the Standard & Poor's 500, you can purchase an ETF of that index. And over the last 60, 70 years, it has earned over 10% in dollars. And we sit in rands. So you got another 5% or so growth from rand. So, and if you look at other funds like the Allan Gray, have a South African focus, the Allan Gray Orbis Global Equity Fund, just under 40 years, with an 11% in excess of 11% total return. So I think 15% growth is achievable. If you do that, and all of this stuff magically happens, which we know it won't, it's going to be somewhat different. But in this scenario, your child would end up with this child of 2 billion Rand.
Вам наша польза не нужна.
500,000 Rand. 2 billion Rand, 2,000 million Rand.
Wow, that's
By the
amazing.
age of 65.
Just with 3,000 Rand a month.
Well, for 14 years, because then you mustn't invest anymore, otherwise the tax man's going to.
Yeah, then you're over. Oh, that's not a good to invest.
No, not in a tax-free savings. No.
In the money maximizer.
So, so the important takeaways is you need to get the higher growth rates to get the biggest benefit. And your child, in this instance, must not draw that money. And, it's not to say if there's an emergency, they can't draw the money, but you really get the benefits by not touching that money for as long as possible. You won't get to the 2 billion if you take out
Yeah.
a million when you're 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the real crux of it. But that's the example, and we'll later we can discuss exactly how much that difference in return makes. But I don't think it really matters, because if you can't afford 3,000 Rand a month, if you can only afford 100 Rand a month, 200 Rand, 300 a month, there's massive benefit still. The numbers still stack up. So you obviously you will get a smaller amount at the end of the day. Just another thing to bear in mind is that 2 billion Rand, while it sounds like this enormous number, it won't be worth what we think 2 billion Rand is worth today. Okay, because if we make the assumption of 5% inflation, which I know the Reserve Bank is looking to target 3% as our new inflation rate, but for simplicity, let's assume 5% inflation, because I don't think it'll make too much difference to the present value or today's money terms value. Because if the 5% inflation drops to 3%, then your 15% return is probably going to drop to 13% return, because the exchange rate is likely to depreciate more slowly. That 2 billion Rand would be worth 82 million Rand today, which I would be very happy with. And the trick then generally just to say, okay, is 82 million Rand enough? We normally say that a long-term withdrawal rate of 4% would mean that pot of money that you have at retirement would continue to grow and last you for the rest of your life. And if you get that withdrawal, I can't remember the numbers exactly, and this is where the crux really comes in. You would, at 4% withdrawals, I think it's something like 270,000 Rand a month. And then the important words are tax free. So it's not like you're receiving a salary of 270,000 Rand and you're ending up with, I don't know, 150,000 Rand. If you're wanting to draw that amount of money and you want to live a lifestyle that requires 270,000 Rand, you can spend it all when the tax man gets another.
Yes.
And it'll continue to grow in that pot, so that next year you should be able to withdraw even more.
So it's very important actually for everyone to do.
Yes. Look, I think, the tax-free savings accounts weren't around when I was growing up. And even for my children, I think I only started investing in 2016 or something. But yeah, they assuming you educate your child when he's a bit older to really understand the benefits of what he potentially has, because you don't want to invest all of that money for your child, for them to withdraw all the money, and then they can't effectively invest in a tax-free savings account for themselves because it's already being used up.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's the essence.
So Bernard, earlier you spoke about your tax-free savings account, and you said it's better to invest in global markets. So maybe you can elaborate about it, because I traded essential oils. I don't know a lot about markets or that kind of market. Like for a mother who doesn't have a lot of time and she's tired and she just really wants to start this for her newborn. What would be like the best? I know you can't give advice, but what would be like the best kind of, like first off, I know that when I started mine, there was two different ones, a tax-free investment, a tax-free savings account, and then the tax-free shares account. So I just took both because I was like, I don't have time to figure out. I'm just taking both. But which one is actually better? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so I think maybe you need to go back a little bit and explain about tax-free savings accounts. And I think it depends what is the reason that you are investing in a tax-free savings account, or TFSA. And if you're investing for retirement for yourself or for a newborn child, and it's a long period of time, 20 years plus, then you want to get the greatest growth. So you're looking for the highest sensible return. I'm not talking about investing in Bitcoin or whatever. Well, you're not allowed to, but if you were in a tax-free savings account. So generally, when I say global equities, I'm saying you are investing that money in equities outside of South Africa. Okay. So one of the simplest and longest with a very long historical track record is the Standard & Poor's 500 index, or ETF, which is an exchange traded fund. And that is an index of the 500 largest companies in the US. It's supposed to be 500, but it's probably 504 now. And the reason why it's been a successful place to invest is that it's not static. So the 500 funds in there today, maybe 200 or 300 weren't there 10 years ago. If you think of the likes of Nvidia and some of the tech stocks, Tesla, etc., they wouldn't have existed in that 500 index 10 years ago. So as companies do really, really well, then they come into the S&P 500, and those that aren't doing so well and are getting smaller or whatever, they drop out of the S&P 500. Okay. So you're effectively investing in an index of the 500, call it most successful funds in the US.
So for example, if you go onto your account, you will see this one as the option.
It may or may not be an option. I mean, it very much depends on where you are buying your tax-free savings account from. So you could invest in an interest-bearing account, which I would never recommend to a client. It is safe, but it's not going to do much more than 8 or 9% a year compared to, say, 15% in a global equity fund. And while those numbers seem quite close together, the impact of those numbers over 65 years is astronomical. So, I mean, as an example, and I'm not punting them, but Easy Equities, I think most people would have heard of Easy Equities. It's a very handy app. Very, very easy to use. I'm a bit nervous when I use it that I might buy or sell something by mistake because it's so simple. It's like boom, boom, boom. You can have 3 clicks with a button and you've suddenly bought or sold something. But I know Easy Equities offers I think it's a Satrix S&P 500 ETF, and most funds will offer it. But you don't have to buy that. There are lots of other good, reputable global equity funds that have I would tend to look at companies that have at least a 10-year track record or performance and are generally earning over 10% in dollars over a period of time. So I don't know, does that help explain?
Yes. Global.
It's not, unfortunately, it's not as simple as that. I recently saw an article which I'll cover in a post at a later stage, but which was really punting global equity compared to SA equity. But if you look at the last 5 years, South African equity has outperformed global equity. Okay, if you look at 10 or longer periods of time, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And generally, I would expect global equity to outperform South African equity over a long period of time because of our economy, because of our inflation rate compared to the inflation rates of the major, economies around the world. So, but it's not like a magic bullet. You can't say invest in global equity and all my problems are solved.
I think the most important part is probably just to start doing it.
100% correct. And I think, some people, I think it's human nature is to think, I don't know what to do. But you took an interesting approach. I don't know what to do, so I'll just invest in this one and this, which is a good, interesting approach.
The top 40, this will all be good. It's the top, so it has to be good.
But a lot of people, they freeze and they say, I'll do that later when I have more money, when I can invest more, when things are better. But the way compound interest works is that, and I think we should probably just run through a simple example of, let's say there are 3 children. I had A, B, and C, but I'll put Matthijs in there. But I'm going to start over with A, M, and C. Andili, Matthijs, and Cindy. I'll have to switch my head around here. So we'll put Matthijs in because we know that you started investing. We'll say it's 1,100 Rand a month for 38 years. I think that, well, not you. I mean, obviously Matthijs will have to take over at some point in time. But say 1,100 Rand for 38 years, which is when you would have reached the 500,000 Rand cap. You start investing when Matthijs is born. Andili's parents born exactly the same day. They start investing 10 years later. Okay. They started first 8 years, and then Andili takes over, continues to invest for 38 years. And Cindy, unfortunately, her parents or grandparents didn't help her out. So she's only starts investing at age 25 when she starts work. And she invests for 38 years. And now we're going to see what's the difference. Well, I'll ask you, what do you think the difference would be between, they all have invested 500,000 Rand?
You know the answer is going to be massive.
Yeah, massive is a good answer, but you'll have to guess a bit. Otherwise, it's not fun. All invested the same amount of money. Matthijs has had the funds there, the full 500,000 from year 14, whereas the others started 10 or 25 years later. What do you think the difference would be between Matthijs and Cindy, where there's a 25-year gap?
Sure, a lot, probably.
5 times more, 10 times more, 20 times more?
I don't know, maybe 20 times more?
Okay, and between Matthijs and Andili?
Let me think.
It's going to be a lot closer.
Because how many years did Matthijs have? Yeah, these 40s, 4 years.
Full
Full
60.
And Andile, only had?
10 years later, started, yeah.
Oh, 10 years later.
Yeah.
I don't know, Matthijs probably also had like what? So it'll be smaller, like 10 times?
Yeah. Now, so it's not as much as 10 times. So the difference, Matthijs would have 4 times more than Andili with a 10-year gap, and it's 33 times more than Cindy with a 25-year gap.
Wow. So the best is to really start
Yeah.
at Sienna as soon as you have that.
Otherwise, I mean, obviously, if Cindy didn't draw the money until she was 90, then she would have it. But it's not much use.
Have that last holiday.
Would be a big blast.
Cool. So that's the effect of your compound interest.
That is the effect of compound interest and time. Yeah, I mean,
So
it's
another
astronomical.
question I'm thinking about,
Yes.
because I can see with my tax-free not the tax-free dividend, the one where you have shares, the tax-free shares account, sorry. So I can see all the dividends coming in, and I'm thinking about what you're saying about compound. So compound obviously means it has to go back into that account. I am not sure if mine is actually going back. I hope it is.
I would be very surprised if it's
Not. Okay, so
that would be the default.
so it would be the default would be
Correct.
the dividends goes back into the
Yeah.
account, and it would buy.
Otherwise, you're
like-
losing half the benefit.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking now. Because I'm always getting this 1 cent
Oh.
dividend, and I'm like, where is this even going? I don't even know where this is going. So I hope it's going back in there so I
Yeah.
can get this compound effect
I would be very surprised if it's not.
going back.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, with all of these things, there's so much information out there. I mean, I don't know. I think the last time I looked, there was something like 1,700 unit trust funds. Okay, obviously, there are a lot less that only invest in global equities. And again, the less that, so there's some that invest in global equities, there's some that invest in SA equities only, and there's some that invest in a blend, a mixture of some global equities and some South African equities. But there's massive amount of choice, and it's difficult. And the difference between a good fund and a bad fund is huge. Okay, so I mean, if I was not who I am, a young parent without a finance background looking at this, I would want to look at a minimum of a 10-year history, with consistently doing well over a period of time. So it's no use having the fund that's the best performer over 1 year. I got funded 30% last year. Fantastic. What's its performance over 10 years? 8% a year. Whereas the one that's maybe only done 5% over the last 12 months has an average return of 15% a year.
Okay, so where do you recommend is like the best place if you want to see how a fund is performing? What is like the easiest way or the best place to go and see
What
which
do I?
fund is best performing?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I generally look at funds data. I think it's a website called fundsdata.co.za. And I think if you want to get the more detailed information where you can look at all of the funds in a particular category, you either have to sign up and get it for free for a month or whatever it is, or pay. But you can see, you could say, okay, what are the 5 or 10 funds that I want to look at? And you can just go in and type in that fund's name and get all of the information. So it's a bit more time consuming to compare the different funds to each other.
But worth it.
But yeah, you can easily do that. There are other ones that you can use. There's a website called citywire.co.za. And I mean, Morningstar is the company that I think actually produces all the, if anyone buys a newspaper anymore, I don't think they do. but if you buy a newspaper and you have a look, generally there's a page in the financial sector which will list all the unit trust prices, etc., etc. And I tend to find someone who will send me a copy of Morningstar's annual report, which will show you all the funds in the different categories with the performance over periods from something like, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. But that comes out annually for the performance up to the end, the 31st of December each year.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, I think most important part is start.
Yeah, start sooner rather than later. I think, if I was giving things to consider, advice, we've got to be careful with the word advice in this forum. I can give you advice one-on-one.
But yes.
But, things the first would be to say, as a young parent, new parent, to get the basics in order. So as you said, do I have a will? Do I have an emergency fund? Do I have the appropriate, when they say life insurance, it's more than just life cover. It also means income protection. I tend to say that income protection should be the starting point because, your ability to work and earn an income over the remainder of your working lifetime is a massive asset that you should be protecting.
Yes. That is the biggest
and then
asset.
critical illness, which is those nasty diseases like heart attack and cancer would be the 2 ones that we're most likely to get during our lifetimes. So once you've got kind of all the basics in place and medical aid, some kind of health protection, once you've got the basics in place, then you can say, okay, now I'd like to, save for myself, to tax-free savings account, and potentially put something away for a child. But as we mentioned previously, I don't think there's any point just putting something in a tax-free savings account unless you're clear as to why you're doing it. Unless you educate your child as they're growing up. Because, if they're not aware of the importance and the value of money, they could just say, 18 years old, thanks, Mum. I'm off for 2-3 years, Joel. I'm going to blow through my money, and then it's all gone.
I don't know. Maybe we won't tell my account the moment it's on their mind, so maybe we'll just keep it there. We'll tell him when he's like, what age is it? 65.
I think he will find out when he's 18. Unfortunately, it's not like that advert where the person was working really hard and his dad took all the money. Then when he passed away, he got it all as a big bonsela. I think when you turn 18, my understanding is that the financial institutions will send communication to say you're now an adult, this is your fund.
This is your fund.
So unfortunately, you can't keep it a secret till 65. Good thinking. So it just means you have to educate them. And
Why you have to leave it that way? Otherwise you're not going to
there are no hard and fast rules. And I mean, let's say that for whatever reason, Matthijs urgently needs that money for tertiary education, or has a, massive desire to go and spend a year overseas at university, which costs a ridiculous amount of money. It's nothing to say that it's the worst idea. I mean, you just have to think very carefully about it. So if you were to withdraw R1 million, say, from your savings at age 18, 19, 20, whatever the age would be, what impact would that have?
Yes, so that's
65?
worth
Correct.
it. Yes.
And it's going to be ginormous, but I mean, maybe the impact on you spending that money and having that, additional education, etc., and meeting the people you meet at a Harvard or an Oxford or a Berkeley or wherever the hell you go, makes it worth it.
Yes, makes it more worth it.
Correct. So it's not like a one size fits all. I think you just need to be more aware of the consequences of the financial decision. So the myth that we're going to smash today, Leanne, is that financial planning for your kids or your children is only for the wealthy. And I think a lot of people, think, oh, I don't have much money. It doesn't really make any sense. But even putting away as little as 300 Rand a month can make a significant difference. Just quickly ran the numbers. And if you can invest 300 Rand a month for your child, from birth, and increase that investment by 5% a year, and that 300 Rand would grow to in excess of 300 million Rand at retirement, which would be worth around 14 million Rand in today's 2020-25.
Wow.
I almost sounded like Jacob Zuma. So
It's important.
it makes a difference. If you invest only 100 Rand, that's still worth it. But the numbers, which is.
Do you also recommend, I know that helped me because I'm not a great person at saving, is doing an automatic contribution?
Debit order contribution, definitely. I think for most people that makes the most sense. You then don't even think of it as money that you can spend because it just goes off every single month. Interestingly enough, when you do the modeling financially, if you have money to invest and you invested the full 36,000 Rand or whatever you were going to put into the tax-free savings account on the 1st of March each year, you're likely to end up with a better end result. But I know most people don't have a handy 36,000 Rand hanging around in their back pocket to invest on the 1st of March.
You can always ask for birthday gifts or something like that.
You can tell everyone your birthday's on the 1st of March.
Don't want any more toys in this house. We want cash.
So this week's In the Limelight Challenge. First off, start with the basics. Review your will and your risk cover. Do you have appropriate insurance in place to ensure that your loved ones would be protected if anything bad happens to you? Secondly, is to share this episode with a friend, a parent. Hopefully it'll be helpful to them. And thirdly, it's really to ensure that you educate yourself about the benefits of tax-free savings accounts. They are fantastic investments, but you really need to understand them, what you can do and what you shouldn't do. Maximum investment amount of each year is 36,000 Rand. If you invest more than that, if you have multiple tax-free savings accounts, that can be a challenge. But the moment you invest more than that, the tax man says, thank you very much, and he takes 40% of it. So don't invest more than 36,000 Rand a month.
And here, in the rarest of spectacles, we observe the lesser spotted, extroverted actuary in its natural habitat. Normally precise, immaculate in calculation, it has quite astonishingly made a mistake and uttered month instead of year. Such an occurrence is vanishingly uncommon, much like sighting a comet blazing across the night sky. Watch closely, dear listener, for this may never be seen again in our lifetime.
And don't invest more than 500,000 Rand in your entire lifetime. And I figured out how to find out how much you actually invested, because I didn't know for myself. But if you look at your tax return, somewhere there's a number which is showing you the accumulated amount that you have invested in your tax-free savings account up until that point in time. So there is a place that you can track how much that you have invested. And to really educate yourself first, and then your child, as to the benefits of long-term growth, and to not withdraw that money before it is really needed. I think it's also maybe an opportune time to bring up the kind of understanding your own money instinct. And we have a money instinct quiz. And the reason I mentioned that is because your approach to money, your behaviors, your habits, what makes you tick as far as money is concerned, could be very different to your child's.
Yeah.
So I think you
Definitely.
need to understand where your own behaviors are coming from. And when you get money each month, you have to go shopping and spend it. That, thankfully for me, wasn't my case. Then you need to put in place mechanisms to kind of mitigate against that to some extent, so that you put in place automatic contributions, debit orders, etc.
Ideal account.
Ideal account. I've never heard of that before. But
It's on FNB. You put that account. It worked for me.
I don't tend to spend a lot, but when I do, I buy a big thing.
Oh, yeah. You're like my husband.
So yeah, if you're interested in taking the Money Instinct quiz, just check out the link in the comments below. Hopefully you'll find it very interesting. So before we wrap up, Leanne, this is your chance to give your business a punt to our audience of millions.
Well, you never know. Compound.
Compound growth.
Followers. Well, yes. So if you like essential oils, would like to learn more about essential oils, I am Leanne from Ylang. So it's easy to remember. My favorite flower, Ylang. So you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. And yes, I have a free Smell Me guide that can help you choose your oils. And I've got all different kinds of oils, Blue Lotus from Cleopatra in Egypt to basic things like lavender, which is Matthijs's favorite, is lavender. So really good quality oils that can be used. That's good to use with children because they're tested and food grade.
Great. Thank you very much. And I won't take you literally there when you said smell me.
I didn't even notice. The Smell Me guide. Maybe a name change there.
And much like the call of a persistent nightjar, I return once more, and in our next remarkable encounter, we shadow the elusive, extroverted actuary as it ventures into dangerous terrain, safe or spicy. Until then, do the noble thing, like and subscribe to the In the Limelight YouTube channel, and remember, stay smart, stay steady, and stay in the limelight.